Okay, it is 7:05. At this time, I'd like to call to order the Tewksbury Finance Committee public hearing for September 26, 2022. And for all of those that can, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is in the back. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Okay, welcome everyone. This is the meeting we have for anyone from the general public to ask questions they might have regarding the warrant articles for the special town meeting that will be held on October 3rd. The Finance Committee has already reviewed the warrant articles with the town manager. The committee may or may not have any questions for the town manager at this time. Tonight is more for anyone from the Tewksbury community to ask any questions they may have regarding any of the warrant articles. So how this will work, we'll address each article individually. Any residents that would like to speak about the article we are reviewing will come up to the microphone right over here, state their name and address for the record. After resident questions are addressed, I will open it up to the committee for questions. After discussion is complete, the Finance Committee will vote on our recommendation as how to proceed on the article. I will now look for a motion to waive the reading of the warrant articles.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye. It's unanimous. Okay. Article 1.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Article 1 is to fix the salaries of elected officials in the town. At the May town meeting, this article was passed, but since then, we have looked at the salaries and are proposing increasing the salaries for elected officials that currently receive salaries within the town. What essentially happened was the 10% cut that was made to elected official salaries back in 2009 were restored, and then all of the elected officials, with the exception of the moderator and the selectmen, were brought up to the same salaries as the chair and members of the school committee to make everyone equitable. The selectmen increase is just restoring the 10%. The moderators was restoring the 10% and then increasing the salary by $500. Funding for this change is in Article 3.
All right, thank you for that. Does anybody from the public have any questions on Article 1? Anyone from the committee? I have one question, and I know we probably went over this already, but is this in line with other communities? Is there a average for other communities?
No. So we did a survey about 20 communities, and it varies greatly. Some communities don't pay some of these positions. Most all pay the selectmen. Some pay their school committee. Some pay their planning board. Probably behind selectmen, I think Board of Health probably is paid more, paid in most communities, but it varies depending on the size of the community. Some of the smaller communities in the western part of the state may pay more to, say, a Board of Health because they don't have a health director or a planning director. That's why they pay the planning board more. So it varied, but for towns similar to our size, it's probably on the higher side, but I don't think it's that much higher.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Cook.
Was it the intent to leave out the non-elected positions like the appeals board and the conservation committee, which are the two committees in town that provide a lot of work for the town?
Yeah, it wasn't my intent to leave anybody out. I just focused on who was currently getting salaries. I didn't go beyond that because that's what was brought up at the May town meeting. If someone wants me to go through and look at non-elected officials, we can do that, or other elected officials that, elected boards, but I just focused on what we have paid for salaries to elected officials in the
Elected
past.
officials.
Yeah, I just didn't go beyond that.
I think it should be considered based on the amount of work they do. You know, conservation, they meet, I think, twice a month.
Yep.
The Board of, not so much the Board of Appeals, but the so-called Conservation Committee and the, should at least be looked at for the number of hours they put in. I watched the meeting the other night, and it seemed pretty detailed. I mean, they go 2-3 hours, and there's a lot of survey work, you know, that they have to do. Conservation Commission included, you know. But thank you for your answer there, Richard.
Richard, is your name working?
I think so. I don't know.
You might want to take this one.
I believe it's for the TV as opposed for us.
Okay.
That's the way it was explained to me.
Okay.
Conservation receives compensation.
Much good. Just, Steve, good. Yes.
You can go to the
So-
podium.
The Conservation Commission does receive compensation through the Wetland Protection Fund, so it's not general fund expenditure like the rest of these are.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
Okay, any other questions on Article 1? Do we have any motions on Article 1?
I'll motion to adopt Article 1, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Jason with a second. All in favor of adopting Article 1, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well. It's unanimous. All right, Article 2.
Article 2 is seeking to raise and appropriate $126,041.35 for unpaid bills. Unpaid bills are bills that were received after June 30th. And we need town meeting approval to pay these bills. The first is $119,548.69 for the Commonwealth of Mass Department of Unemployment Assistance. Back in FY '21, there were fraudulent claims due to COVID in our unemployment bills. The bill exceeded or was somewhere around $342,000. After a couple of years of reviewing the bills, finally we were able to get what we believe the fraudulent claims were out of the unemployment bill, and we owe $119,548.69. During the last couple of years, we paid minimal amount in unemployment. Only what we knew was correct. There was a fair amount of money turned back by the school department and the town over the last couple of years, so this bill is now due. The other bills are minor. Formax is a late bill for the repairs to a folding machine in the treasurer collector's office. That was $450. Badger meter, $282.13 for a late invoice for Badger water meter software costs. We had repairs at Ira Honda 128 for a police department vehicle for $524.63, and MHQ Inc., where we buy our police cruisers. They installed equipment of police cruisers totaling $5,235.90.
All right, thank you. Do we have any questions from anyone from the public? Seeing none, any from the committee?
I'll just reiterate, I think it was Tom and the town manager's point that the unemployment assistance was across 3 fiscal years. That's why that number is so large.
Yep.
And I think, Mr. Town Manager, you're going to make a note on your summary for town meeting.
Yeah, I did. I'm looking at it right here. I'll mention that it's across FY20 and FY21.
All right, great. Do we have any motions for recommendation?
I'll motion to adopt Article 2.
Second?
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well. That's unanimous. Article 3.
The next article seeks to raise and appropriate $2,134,335 into the FY23 budget for certain line items. The line items that we're seeking to fund are line items that have been identified as unfunded priorities within department budgets. The reason why the town has the available funds to spend, when we ended up finalizing the FY22 budget as well as the FY23 budget, additional funding became available in a few areas. The first, the FY23 state budget, when it was adopted, provided additional state funding beyond what was projected when I presented the budget in May. Net of state and county assessments, the increase was $730,115 for state aid to the community. In addition, we had two areas of new growth that changed. The first, we had amended new growth at the end of FY22 in the amount of $834,226. This amended new growth increased the tax levy in FY22, and that new growth was mainly from personal property. The chief assessor hired a firm to go into certain companies to do an audit of their personal property, and the additional new growth was specifically in the area of personal property. In addition to that, the new growth that was projected in town when we presented the budget in May was $850,000. Currently, the projection has increased to $2,205,438. The new growth that we're projecting mainly came from new commercial development from the Home Depot complex off of Woburn Street. We saw some residential growth from the new housing development, from new housing developments in town. And we saw, again, an increase in new growth from personal property within the community. The total amount that became available when we looked at the new revenue from new growth and from new state aid was a little over $2.9 million. That amount was reduced because I ended up reducing local receipts in areas such as motor vehicle excise tax, interest earnings, penalties and interest, and payment in lieu of taxes. By reducing local receipts, I was looking at what we took in over the previous year and what I felt was comfortable moving into FY for the remainder of FY23, and that reduced overall local receipts by $675,176. When I take the increase in new revenue and I take out the reduction in my projection for local receipts, the net amount available for the FY23 budget article as well as Article 1 for unpaid bills was $2,260,377. So that's where the additional funds came from. In this article, we are raising funds for the following items. The first 5 are for the elected salaries that we mentioned earlier. The moderator's salary will be increasing. We need funding increase of $550. For the selectmen, we'll need a funding increase of $3,100. The Board of Health salaries, $13,520. The Planning Board salaries, $10,595. And the School Committee, $1,550. Again, that reflects the salary changes in Article 1. The next item is police regular salaries, $292,000. This will fund 4 additional police officers, which will add 1 patrol officer to each shift. Although the department has added staffing in the past, most of them have been in specialty units, such as school resource officers, the drug unit, and traffic unit. The department, as far as we can tell, in the last 20 years has not added anybody to a patrol shift. So these 4 officers will be added. In addition, we're looking to fund $53,000 for police professional services to fund a police department assessment center for promotional exams for the rank of lieutenant, sergeants, and deputy. Due to retirements, there will be positions open in these areas, and based on how many people we are anticipating taking part in the exam and the possible cost. We are looking to set aside $53,000. Fire regular salaries, $289,955 will fund 4 additional firefighters EMTs, 1 added to each shift. That will allow us to run the second ambulance more often than we do right now. The plan would be to run it at least 5 days a week, and if we have full staffing on a shift, then we'll run it 7 days a week. We have found that there is a need to run the second ambulance in the community based on the number of calls that we have throughout the year. In addition, this funding will pay for an upgrade of a lieutenant to captain, as well as an education incentive for a member of the department, as well as a retirement incentive for a member of the department that were unforeseen when the budget was put together in last year. Professional services under fire, $12,300. This is also for an assessment center for the fire department, for promotional exam for the rank of lieutenant. In addition, fire professional services, $9,290 is for a preventive maintenance contract that is needed for the HVAC system in the new station. When we put the budget together last year, this was something that we didn't anticipate, but funding is needed based on the cost of the preventive maintenance agreement and the station being new. Fire uniforms, $25,600. This will fund turnout gear and equipment for the new firefighters that I mentioned. Under DPW highway regular salaries, $156,615 for 3 additional staff within the highway department in the DPW forestry division. This will allow an additional crew to strengthen the department to address drainage, road repair, and forestry issues within the town. And this is something that, again, similar to police and fire salaries, has been a priority for quite some time. DPW engineering. And within the budget, we're looking to fund $500,000 to be used for resurfacing roadways in the community as part of the annual pavement management plan. Currently, we utilize Chapter 90 money for all of our paving, as well as any additional grants we can get from the Commonwealth. Further funding is needed, as many of you well know from driving around this community and the street condition of the streets. The goal is to add this $500,000 to the town budget, so it's a reoccurring expense each year. This will allow us to not depend on our reserves, such as the stabilization fund or free cash on an annual basis. DPW engineering, another amount being added to that budget. This is specifically for sidewalks, $250,000. Again, to be used for new sidewalks in the community. Specifically, the first year will be used for 5th Street, which is under design and scheduled for bid in November. The $250,000, like roads, would be planned as an annual appropriation within the budget to supplement any other sidewalk projects that may be being undertaken in the community. But again, it will help alleviate the burden on reserves for sidewalk improvements. Accounting is looking for additional funding for Munis software, $46,422. These funds will be utilized to implement and enhance the financial software in the town, to provide training and other professional service related to the upgrade of modules that we have. The funding will implement a cash management system and a time entry system that the town accountant feels is necessary for more efficiencies and improvement to our overall cash management and financial system. Computer services, professional services, $68,309. Our IT director is looking to have a managed service provider under contract to help supplement the work that he does within the department. He's looking to bring Delphi Technology Solutions on to provide network and information technology support as directed by the technology manager in the community. The MSP will assist with the continued growth of the IT environment while reducing overall costs. Treasurer unclassified principal maturing debt, $80,000. This funding will be added to the town's principal maturing debt line item within the FY23 budget to pay for a $26.5 million bond issue if approved in Article 5 that we'll talk about a little bit more further. And then finally, treasurer unclassified interest maturing debt, $321,529. This will be the interest on a $26.5 million bond for a new DPW school maintenance facility that we'll discuss further in Article 5.
All right, thank you for that. Do we have any questions from anybody from the public on Article 3? Seeing none. Do we have any questions from the committee?
Not a question, but I just wanted to thank Chief Kearns and Chief Columbus for their memo that they sent out the other day detailing what the town manager just broke down. That was very helpful. Thank you.
Chairman, I meant to say one probably the most important part of this article. We will not move forward with any of the reoccurring costs, such as new hires, in this article until I have a better understanding of the FY24 budget. So until I start that process, have a better understanding of fixed costs such as health insurance, retirement assessment, as well as a new contract that we are negotiating for solid waste and recycling. Until I have a better understanding of those costs, how revenues look in the future, we are not going to move forward with the reoccurring costs in this budget until we feel comfortable that they can be sustained, that the economy is not going to take such a downturn that it will hinder the community from a financial standpoint or impact current services.
All right, thank you for that. So does that mean you wouldn't look to hire someone until after the new year? Like, how far into the budget process, I guess?
Well, the budget process, starts by the end of October.
Yeah.
I usually have budgets back sometime around Thanksgiving. I'll start to know by then how things are looking, but it could be closer to the new year or shortly after the first of the year. I could also see us, staggering some of the spending. As I mentioned in the past, depending on the capacity of each of the department to move forward with hirings, we may move forward with those that can move faster than others. I mentioned before, the fire department, by adding 4 EMTs, also generates revenue. We need to determine what that type of revenue could be to help us. We could add 1, maybe 2 right away, or sooner than later. So we'll evaluate all of it.
Okay. Thank you.
The one thing that we will move forward with, though, because the roadway and the sidewalks, could be cut from next year's budget without impacting services, we'll probably move forward with things like that.
Okay. Any question, Mr. Cook?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, through you, the only objection, or one of the main objections I have with this article is that it has a large amount of money to it, $2,800,000, and I understand the available revenue and free cash outline that was given to us. But since I've been on this committee, mostly the budgets that we receive to reevaluate include salaries for each department, include operating, include capital outlay. This particular article is all encompassing. It has the salaries in it, and then it has some capital outlay. So therefore, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to object to that, the way that article was put together, and I will probably be recorded as no on this article 3. Thank you.
Okay. Do you have any specific questions on any of the items, or just just what you stated? Sorry. I was saying, do you have any specific questions about any of the items, or you just didn't like the way that?
I have outlined a couple of questions, but I prefer not to until I hear back from the town manager on an email I sent them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions on Article 3? Okay, do we have any motions?
I'll motion to adopt Article 3, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I oppose.
Chair votes aye, that's 4-1. Article 4.
Article 4 seeks to transfer $2,600,250 from certified free cash for the following one-time capital expenditures. This year, free cash was certified at $7,536,885. It's higher than what we have normally seen, but it's within what we expected to see based on the amount of revenue that we collected above projected revenue for local receipts, based on the amount of funding that was turned back within the town or school budget this year was well over $2 million. Accounts that were closed by the town accountant this past year that were old accounts. So we anticipated higher than normal free cash because of those unique circumstances. The $7,536,885, what we have normally done in the past, we immediately take $600,000 off the amount of free cash and set it aside for snow and ice deficits that we may have in the during this fiscal year. And then the remaining amount is spent on capital items, and then the balance is put into the stabilization fund. So after you take the $600,000 off, we have a remaining balance of $6,936,885, and the planned spending in this article is as follows. The first, we're looking to increase, because of the increased costs of DPW vehicles, we're looking to fund $75,000. The town ordered 2 F-550 utility trucks that have not been fulfilled due to the problem with supply chain. But based on what we've been told, the cost increase to those vehicles are going to be higher than what were previously appropriated at town meeting. So the $75,000 is to pay for any additional costs in those vehicles that were previously approved. The next is for fuel storage upgrades at the DPW. This is separate from the proposed DPW project that we'll discuss in the next article. Regardless of what happens to that project, the fuel storage system requires a replacement of fuel dispensers, fuel management software, fuel access cards, and a conversion to an EVR approved fittings for state mandated compliance. Again, regardless of what we do with the DPW facility, the fuel island system needs to have upgrades, and we're seeking $75,000. In addition, the DPW is looking for a 6-ton asphalt hot box for $70,000. This request will replace a 14-year-old 2009 Falcon asphalt hot box. The hot box is used to repair trenches within the community, and as we again know from the condition of our roads, the DPW has done a good job keeping up with the potholes and the trenches in the community, and the asphalt hot box allows us to do an even better job than we have currently been doing. The next item is in prisoner transport van for the police department, $94,847. Currently, the transport van that we have that transport multiple prisoners is a 2007 vehicle that needs to be replaced. The van is outdated, and for the safety of the officers as well as the individuals that are being transported, a new van is needed. We're looking to fund $40,000 for a UTV vehicle that will be utilized by both police and fire. This will assist in patrolling areas such as Livingston Street, as well as our open space and recreation areas. It'll allow us to transport people if needed off trails for medical emergencies. We can transport equipment in areas where other vehicles can't access. Police station repairs and upgrades, we're seeking $85,360 for repairs and upgrades to the building's chiller piping and pumps. We're also looking to upgrade plumbing fixtures within one of the cells. This is something that was identified by the facilities manager as one of the needs for the fall town meeting. We're looking for seeking $85,043 for new animal control vehicles. This will allow us to purchase a new vehicle to replace the current transit van that they use. The current vehicle has very limited kennel space and does not drive through inclement weather. Due to the size of the van, it's limited in space for the officer's equipment and animals, which have created a safety issue. In addition, there's no separate ventilation system within the van when transporting animals and equipment that have been soiled. Next, we're looking for $75,000 for the second floor carpeting in the library. This is the next phase of carpeting that the facilities manager has brought forward. We recently finished new carpeting on the first floor. Finally, $500,000 is being requested for additional funding for the Bayberry Lane culvert. The Bayberry Lane culvert and crossing consists of 4 culverts. 2 of the 4 culverts have collapsed and have been inoperable. We have gone out to bid, and we have a contract for the work, and $500,000 is needed for the project. Without the $500,000, it would either come from the Stormwater Enterprise Fund impacting other projects, or Chapter 90, which would impact road repairs. Finally, we're seeking $1.5 million from free cash to help supplement the $28 million cost of the new DPW school facility. This funding will reduce the amount that we need to borrow that we'll talk about in Article 5. The $1.5 million will be specifically for design and engineering and construction services. It'll be used to complete the design of the project, get it to the point of bidding, without having us to borrow any funds for that work. That's it.
All right, thank you. Okay, do we have any questions from the general public on Article 4? Seeing none, do we have any questions from the committee? Just so everybody knows, that Bayberry Lane culvert thing, the price is actually a lot bigger than the $500,000, but we're using some of the stormwater, I believe, we talked about last meeting.
We have grant funding.
Grant funding.
Grant funding, yep.
Okay. So, like you said, not to impact other projects that the stormwater fund is funding. Any other questions on Article 4?
Just a comment, Mr. Chairman.
Please.
Saying my same objection to this article with regard to including a lot of different items. I don't think it gives the opportunity for at least the town meeting, the special town meeting, for patrons to ask questions. It does give the opportunity for any patron to stand up, or any attendee to stand up and change the article by deleting a line item. I'm not prepared, with the exception of the $1.5 million for the school portion of the free cash. I'm not prepared to go through the entire article until I get some questions answered with regard to that article. It will determine how I vote at town meeting. So for this evening, I'll vote present on this article because there's some questions in my mind.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on 4?
Mr. Chairman, on
Sure.
the Bayberry Lane culvert, do you know what the lifespan of it should be once it's fixed?
Sure. I don't know if you can hear me.
You might want to come up to the mic, please. Thank you.
Hi, Kevin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, that's going to be a concrete box culvert. Expected lifespan is 50 to 75 years or more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before he goes, you want to just explain the funding that we have in place in
Certainly.
addition and the cost of the project?
So we've received a $500,000 grant from Mass DOT through the Small Bridge Program. And prior to that, we received $100,000 from the Small Bridge Program for the design piece of it. So we've got $500,000 from Small Bridge Grant. We've previously appropriated some funding in the Stormwater Enterprise, and we're going to utilize the additional $500,000 if approved from the free cash. The total project cost for construction is about $1.1 million, and an additional $100,000 approximately for engineering oversight and environmental monitoring through, because it's crossing a stream and there's conservation issues.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hardeman.
Thank you.
I have a question for the,
Mr. Hardeman,
yeah,
step back up, please. Thank you.
how big is the culvert?
Currently, there are 4 corrugated metal pipes, 2 corrugated metal pipes, and then 2 were replaced, and they were 3-foot diameter. The proposed culvert is going to be about 16 feet wide and 6 feet tall.
Someone to South Street on the bridge?
South Street, where down the Sutton Brook.
Bridge in Shawshene, bridge in Shawshene.
Bridge Street. Not quite as big. Those are 3 13-foot
Right.
culverts. So this is a little smaller than that.
Yeah. And what are we trying to collect, Kevin? What are we collecting through this culvert?
The Heathbrook.
The Heath Brook itself?
The Heath Brook itself.
Drains down in from the swamp area, right?
Right, down to Shawshene Street.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, don't leave that at one more. And why did the old ones not last as long as the new one's going to?
The old pipes were corrugated metal. Those were installed by a private developer back in the early 90s. You know, they've lasted, you know, the better part of 25 years. But now we're going to be replacing it with reinforced concrete.
Is 25 years a typical lifespan for one of those?
For corrugated metal?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions on Article 4? Do we have any motions for a recommendation?
I'll motion to adopt Article 4, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm opposed.
One opposed. Chair votes aye, so that's 4-1. Article 5.
Okay, Article 5 addresses some items that were in previous articles regarding the DPW school maintenance facility. Article 5 seeks authorization for the Board of Selectmen to borrow $26.5 million to be used for design, engineering, construction, and furnishing of a new combined DPW and school maintenance facility at the current site of the DPW facility on Whipple Road. This is nothing new. This project's not new to the Finance Committee or to town meeting. I was actually going through the history a little bit, and we started talking about improvements to the DPW back in 2013 timeframe when we had CBI do a study of what some of the items needed to be done within the facility. As the Finance Committee knows, we brought forward a debt exclusion to town meeting somewhere around 2017. April 2017 for a project that at that time totaled $11.3 million that would have renovated the current facility as well as added additional vehicle storage to the building. That was defeated at the ballot box. And when we began to regroup and what needed to be done to the current facility to essentially bringing up to code things like new doors, new windows, roof, improvements to the restrooms, office facilities, a safer environment for the workers. We had a discussion at a Board of Selectmen's meeting, and the direction at that time was, let's not waste money on a project like that. Let's do it right. And the hope and the plan was to do this project within the levy limit and not bring it back for a debt exclusion. So with that, we went back, we went to town meeting, and we were given approval in the amount of $2.2 million for bringing on an owner's project manager as well as a design team to start undertaking programming and design of a new facility. In 2019, we hired PMA consultants as our OPM, and in 2020, we hired a design team of Weston and Sampson to do the design and engineering of the facility. Now, in my opinion, there is no one more experienced to do the design and engineering of this facility than Weston and Sampson. And tonight we have with us Jeff Alberti and Tony Westbizer, who are sitting behind me, who are the lead on the design of this project. And both of them have extensive experience in designing DPW facilities. They designed and worked on the Andover facility, the Burlington facility, the Hopkinton facility, Middleborough, just to mention a few, all within recent years. And in talking with other towns, they have come highly recommended. And I can tell you from dealing with them on this project, which has had its challenges, not because of what we're trying to build or what we're trying to design or bring forward, but because of what's happened over the last few years due to COVID, due to issues with supply chain, due to issues of construction costs. This project has had some of the more unique challenges that I've ever seen in a project. When we built the Center Fire Station across the street, I thought that would be one of the more challenging projects because of the site constraints. But the ups and downs of this project and its costs have really been the most challenging. And they've done an excellent job adjusting and coming up with ideas and plans that have allowed us to meet the budget. So what we're seeking to do with all of the articles that we brought forward is to take a building or a facility that was originally built in 1962, 8,400 square feet. In 1980, there were additions increasing the square footage to 25,900 square feet. And the plan is to continue to utilize that facility, but we need to build a brand new facility to meet the needs of the DPW. As many of you know, the DPW currently has highway, water, sewer, fleet maintenance, and administrative offices as part of their operations within the facility at Whipple Road. But in addition to that, we are going to be adding the school maintenance facility, their vehicles and their staff. Again, as the Finance Committee knows, their facility, or the school maintenance facility building, was taken away when we built the new elementary school. They currently have no home. They're utilizing the old fire station right now, but that building is not fit to be utilized in the future. I know there's been discussion about using one of the two elementary schools, but neither one of those are fit for a new facility or for a facility. And it's time to build a new facility to allow the employees who work in those departments to operate more efficiently, to operate more collaboratively, and to operate in a safer environment than they currently have. And I think it's incumbent upon us to provide our employees with the best environment to work in that we can. I think it attracts people to come work here, and it makes for just an overall better workplace for our employees. But that's not the reason why we're doing this. But that is a reason we all need to keep in mind. The current DPW facility lacks sufficient space. It's inefficient, and then, as I mentioned, it's unsafe. It doesn't meet current building code. There is no sprinkler system. There is no adequate egress. It's not ADA accessible. There's no fire suppression. Restrooms do not meet plumbing code, and the building does not meet current mechanical code. All of those exist in the DPW building currently, and they have existed for quite some time. The plan is to utilize this funding to build a new 32,550 square foot operations building to support DPW and school maintenance employee facilities, workshops, vehicle maintenance, vehicle storage, vehicle maintenance, and offices. The current building will be renovated for vehicle storage, as well as it will continue to have office space for administration and engineering. The current facility would also have a wash bay added to one of the existing bays at the end of the building. The total renovation square footage is 25,700 square feet. The new building is 32,550 feet for a total amount of square footage for the DPW of 58,250 square feet plus or minus when you take into consideration the new building and the renovations. Previously, we talked about moving the food pantry from its current location to the current DPW building, but that plan has been changed. The food pantry will remain at its current location and will not be moved. The plan when we bid this project will be to have two bid alternates with the project. We will first have a bid alternate that will add back into the new building the DPW offices for administration and for engineering. The second bid alternate will add additional vehicle storage at one end of the new building. Those will not move forward unless we get favorable pricing when we bid the project. The last thing I want to talk about when it comes to this project is the cost. The cost for the project is estimated to be $28 million. We had a professional cost estimator provide a cost estimate a couple of weeks ago. The estimate came in higher than the $28 million budget by about $4.3 million. We spent time reworking the layout of the facility, the project as a whole, and we're able to reduce it back to the $28 million by one, again, not moving the food pantry and keeping it in its current location, and by reducing cost of site work and by reducing office space that was originally anticipated for the new building, and by keeping which ended up allowing us to keep the administration and engineering in the current DPW facility. So the project cost is $28 million. We have funding in the budget, if Article 1 is approved, to borrow $26.5 million of that funding. This is all within the levy limit. We will not need a debt exclusion for this project. We have worked for the last few years to set aside funds within the debt service budgets to fund the project and avoid a debt exclusion. This project, like the reoccurring costs in the budget article, will not move forward if the economic forecast indicates that the project cannot be afforded by the town or construction costs are higher than we project. And that's it.
All right, thank you. Do we have any questions from the general public on Article 5? Seeing none. Do we have any questions from the committee on Article 5?
Some information that just became aware through Richard articulating the outline of the project. The two alternate bids, the administration area and the additional building response storage area of building number 1. What is the square footage of each of those bid alternates?
Good evening, Mr. Chair. My name is Jeff Alberti with Weston Sampson. I can provide some of that information if you'd like.
Thank you.
Okay, so for the first bid alternate, which would be the office area, that is 5,000 square feet. And for bid alternate 2, which is the vehicle and equipment storage garage, that extension is 5,500 square feet.
Thank you. And if I may, through you, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
On the building number 2 of the total square footage of 200 some odd thousand, I think you said, Richard?
No.
Of building number 2, the existing facility?
No, the existing facility the existing square footage of the existing facility was 25,700 square feet. The new facility is 32,550 square feet.
Correct.
Okay, so the 25,000, which is building number 2, right, Mr. Alberti,
Correct.
is presently not up to code, and that being fire suppression system, handicap, mechanical, etc. Are you a mechanical engineer?
I am not.
With respect to the same building, and I agree wholeheartedly that we need a new facility. And it's mostly, at least if I go back and I look at an outline from 2017 with requests of $11,311,000 for the existing facility, not new building 1 as we're talking here this evening. With respect to building number 2 and the services that come out of that building, well, the mechanics bay, which currently is an unsafe situation for any of our mechanics, is that going to come down, demoed?
Mr. Chairman, through you, the mechanics bay that exists in the existing building will be relocated to the new building. And that building will then, that remaining space will be repurposed for a less intensive use as vehicle and equipment storage, which does not have an occupied use and therefore doesn't require significant upgrades to be used for vehicle and equipment storage.
The school department presently has 6, I don't know if they're all 550 pickup trucks with plows. Will any of those go into that building for storage?
Yes.
Will it cut down the school space at all in the building number 1?
It will not. It's currently been programmed to be located in the existing building, that vehicle and equipment storage.
Okay, thank you. With respect to the new vehicle wash bay in the last bay on the north side of building 1, I'm sorry, building 2, what kind of equipment are you talking about to be installed in that renovation of, I believe it was 1,650 square feet that I saw on an outline revision number 2 of March 29, 2022. The 1,650 square foot wash bay, will it accept our largest ladder truck in the fire apparatus, the pipe truck that we have, fire apparatus? Will it accept that entire vehicle?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, through you, it is designed to serve all town equipment, so the equipment that's going to be within it is primarily a manual pressure wash system that allows for the pressure wash trolley system to extend the full length of the vehicles on either side. And we're also designing that with an undercarriage wash system so that any size vehicle can enter the space and can wash the undercarriage of the vehicle, so that all equipment can be washed within that space.
With respect to that, Mr. Alberti, will that underwash mechanical equipment have a lift to it.
No, sir.
So will the underwash carriage be recessed into the floor of the existing?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. My number 2 question with regard to the mechanical wash system, will that have a water management recycle system, and where will that equipment be stored with regard to the recycle of water? Will it be in the same bay or in an adjacent bay?
That would be located in an adjacent bay.
In an adjacent bay. Will it take up the whole adjacent bay?
It will not. It'll be approximately a 10-foot by 14-foot room that will be housed off of the renovated space. It'll be enclosed to protect the longevity, the life of that equipment that is going to be located within that space, directly adjacent to the wash bay.
Okay. If I can beg indulgence, Mr. Chairman, I have a couple more questions.
Go ahead.
On building number 1, what is the physical height, clear story inside the building?
Mr. Chairman, should I answer directly? Do I go through you? Just want to make sure I'm following procedures properly.
You can answer the question.
Okay, thanks. I didn't want to ask you every time. Appreciate that. Thank you. So it will vary. In the office and employee facility area, you'll typically see anywhere from a 14 to 16-foot eave height. As you move into the workshop areas, you'll see that upwards of 18 to 20 feet. And when you move to the vehicle maintenance area, it's upwards of 28 feet. And it varies depending on the use. So in the office and employee facilities area, we don't need as much volume because we're just supporting office space such as this. The workshop areas are a little bit higher. We don't necessarily have to lift vehicles, but what we want to do is provide the ability to build some mezzanine space, very low-cost storage within that volume. And then also in the vehicle maintenance area, that's primarily driven by the need to lift the heavier equipment. So that's designed to take the largest vehicle and lift that typically 6 feet, so we have enough clearance inside.
I observed you on the 19th of September give the presentation. There was a lot of square footage that wasn't mentioned. I had to go back and look at March 29th. I don't think I've seen an August 22nd update to date. I would like to see that, Mr. Chairman, the August 22nd update, because I think the square footage that the town manager gave was in excess of the revision number 2. I think, if I remember right, Mr. Alberti, revision number 2 had 53,000 square feet, 89 square feet, 53,089, I think it was, that I looked at, with the square footage itemized. That was March 29th. The September 19th, I don't think you elaborated on the square footage. I haven't had the opportunity to look at Mr. Westby's presentation to the school committee, but I do have some serious questions relative to costs, and I'm wondering if, the question I asked, did the professional cost estimated that you brought on board, or this is something you referred to on September 19th, the firm, I think it was PCI?
TCI.
TCI?
Correct.
That estimating firm, do they have the knowledge of an outline specification of materials on the facade, the materials on the roof, the building height, interior building height, what the materials are on, I know it's slab on grade, but did they get that information in an outline specification to put their cost estimate together?
Yes, they did. We've been working with TCI on public works facility projects, so we've done more than 140 public works facilities in the last 20 years. And we've been using them.
Excuse me, it's funny, your website doesn't show that information, but maybe it needs an update.
I think I know someone I can speak to about when I get back on that. Yeah, so as our organization has grown, that's one of our niche markets, and so we have a dedicated group of 30 staff, architects and engineers that focus on that. And so we've been working with the same cost estimator for the last 15 years. So he's very familiar with our designs. In the case of the estimate that you're referring to, we sent him a package that outlined the overall general requirements of the building, including interior layouts, and then we provide supplemental information through emails and through conversations where we walk him through all of the finishes. And because of his experience, many times he will understand what our finishes are going to be, and then he'll run those by us as part of those sessions. And we typically have 3 to 4 calls as he's preparing his estimate as he gets to each section. And we base our estimate on the CSI divisions. We break it down by 19 CSI divisions for the materials, and we work through, and we get down to the nitty-gritty on the types of flooring, acoustical ceiling tile, up to the major mechanical systems.
So are you that far, Mr. Chairman, are you that far along in design?
At this point, we're not, because we've gone through
What percentage are you of it right now,
roughly 15 to 20%.
of design?
Yes,
So that could change,
correct, and
depending on cost.
that's correct. So we build into each of our estimates a estimating contingency, because there's still more work to be done to develop it. In the case of, if we identified 6 windows and we finish our design and we have 12 windows, that will increase the cost estimate, but will then reduce the design estimating contingency to offset that, so the bottom line does not change.
Okay. And if I heard the town manager correctly, when he gave his outline of the project, the estimate come in $4 million some odd dollars over the so-called budget that was in August, I guess,
Correct.
which I haven't seen, but when it come in over 4 million, did they have all that information you just elaborated?
They did, yes.
And it was $4 million over,
Correct.
and you don't know what it's over today?
We're essentially on budget at the 28 million.
Okay.
So we've gone through, we took that estimate that was $4.3 million over, and we identified, I don't like to use the word value engineering because a lot of people question the value. We use cost control measures, and we came up with some really good ideas working closely with the town, such as maintain the food pantry where it is, shift the building, and look at different uses of the spaces, which brought us down to the $28 million mark that we presented recently.
That hasn't been, it's fixed, I know, in the town managers, because he's planning to bond $26.5 million. You know, so it's fixed there, but you're not fixed, your firm's not fixed on the number from an estimator yet.
But we are at this level, and
Okay.
as I mentioned, if we do find any increases, we will be adjusting the contingencies down,
Okay.
which
Yeah,
is a normal part of the process.
Again, it's important, the 28 million has contingencies built in.
Correct.
Has it?
And the estimator had his own contingencies built into
And
different
that's a good
estimates.
thing,
Yeah, no doubt, like, you know that, yeah.
because you also mentioned the fire department, the new central fire station, that come in under bid. And to this day, Mr. Chairman, I haven't, has that money been turned back, the underbid?
It stays with the project.
I'm sorry?
It's being a borrowing, it stays with the project. No
Stays
different-
with the project?
Yeah, it's there if they need it
So
for
the
anything.
town doesn't get an advantage when it comes in under
No,
bid.
because it's a bond issue, it stays with the project.
Will it be the same for this project?
Because
In under bid?
if we borrow the money, yes, it will stay with the project.
Okay, so.
All of them, every school that was built, every project, it stays with the water treatment plant, that stays with the
Right.
project.
But the town never sees the money come back,
No,
because it's under bid.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
But it's been used in the past to no different than the schools, again, or the other projects. It helps down the road fund other needs in the building, you know, if any problems come up.
The reason I'm asking the question, Richard, is
Yeah.
because we're gonna finance this on the tax levy. We're gonna put it out on a 20-year bond. So when we bond it, it's gonna have an amortization schedule of probably a fixed dollar amount, Richard, every year.
It's going to have,
Because the finance committee haven't seen a pro forma yet, or amortization schedule.
so it will have a debt service schedule that will be a declining debt. We have, in the budget, we have funded for the highest year in the debt service. It's based on an amortization schedule that I have worked with Unibank on. It's a standard level principal debt service with interest payments. And after the highest payment, which is FY24, which is what we have budgeted for in this budget, it'll decline each year by $60,000.
Right.
And that's normal. Well, that's the way I've done debt service since I've been here. I can't say that's the way the town's done it in the past prior to me, but that's the way we have done it. And it's standard debt. Now, the estimate on the interest rates have all come from our financial advisor, Unibank. They're not estimates that I have put forward. I spoke to them today because I wanted to know if the impact of the Fed changes to the interest rates this past week had any impact to the projection, and she said no, because they built in enough leeway, so there's no need to change anything at this point.
Thank you.
And if I just want to just go back to one thing that was said in the very beginning when there was discussion on the background of the design team. Jeff is here tonight and Tony's here tonight as the lead individuals on the design team, but every project that we do, and I think, Tom, you know this probably better than anybody, is that it's not just these two people designing the project. There are a team of people behind them, including mechanical engineers. So they have a team of experts and engineers in every discipline working on this project. It's not the two of them, myself and Brian, with a pencil designing this project. And I feel like people think that's what's happening.
Well, Mr. Aliberti, just to clarify.
And just one thing, even though he's a civil engineer, he has many disciplines helping.
My background is 3 disciplines: mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, as well as quality management and construction on any building. I've done a lot of work with civil firms, and I've done a lot of work with architectural firms. So my background in construction is, I'm not coming at this and I'm not just flying at it.
Sure.
There is, there's about 40 years of experience sitting here. So a couple more questions on the building itself.
Sure.
Do you know what an Irma roof is?
I'm sorry, a what?
Irma, A-R-M-A.
I do not.
Okay, that's what they call an upside-down roof. And they put the membrane down first, and then they put a stone ballast on top of it.
Oh, understood, yes.
Okay?
Ballasted roof,
I
yes.
think your design had shown a metal roof.
It's a standing seam metal roof on the new operations building.
And that's a flat roof or a slope roof?
Sloped roof, 1 in 12 pitch minimum.
Okay, because we've had some problems in the past with our own police station with a metal roof. I'm wondering if that is being considered, because we replaced that roof in a very short period of time. I don't think we got the 25-year life out of a metal roof. The question of the existing building maintenance bay, does that have a pit in it right now?
The existing maintenance bay, I do not believe it does.
A work pit?
No.
For a worker?
No.
Okay. Will the new maintenance bay have a pit in it? I heard you say something about a lift.
Correct, it'll have a lift, but no pit.
Okay, will the lift be hydraulic in the ground or above ground?
That's still to be determined. Typically, what we'll do is a recessed platform lift, so that'll be partially recessed, 18 inches in the ground.
You don't know what the professional estimator has calculated yet for that?
He's carried a platform lift in the estimate, as well as portable lifts. There's lifts that you can roll around, pick up a vehicle by the tires, and then you can place the vehicle on jack stands and actually get that lift over to another bay. So it acts as 2 lifts for the price of 1, and we've included those.
It's a roller lift.
Correct.
Okay. And the crane that you mentioned the other evening on the 19th?
Yes.
And what's the tonnage of that crane?
5 ton.
5 ton. Will that pick up, will that lift a 10-wheeler?
Depends on the loading.
22,000 pounds.
Yeah, it depends on the loading of the vehicle. Is it empty? But it's intended not to necessarily lift the vehicle, but to lift components of the vehicle. If it needs to remove a sander body, a sander spreader, for example, or if it's doing special engine work, it's used quite often with plow work within those bays.
Okay. thank you for answering my questions, because I have a couple of more, but I'm not gonna take a lot of time. They're more technical in nature.
Sure.
And I'm sure I'll lose the audience.
I love talking about this, so I'm here all night if you need me.
With regard to the so-called finance audit, I was appreciative of what Mr. Montori said about money coming back to the town if it comes under bid. And the questions that I had on bid alternate number 1 and bid alternate number 2 was, hopefully the project comes in under bid and we can take bid number 1 and bid number 2. But we don't know that yet, and I don't think the engineers know that yet. That's just my opinion right now. And until we see a concrete cost from a 60% or 90% set of documents, it's going to be difficult for me to at least approve this article, because I think we're still teetering here. But I'll let that, I mean, I'm going to let it's town meetings that's going to take this, you know, to a vote, as they did, as the town manager mentioned, on the debt exemption. In debt exemption, we had this, which had a cost of $11,311,000 for a DPW upgrade. You know, this is dated February 1st, 2017. I went back and I pulled it out of my archives.
Yeah, I have it.
Just to see the cost of where we are today and where we were in 2017. And DPW director did a good job outlining it for us. But that's what went, this is what went to town meeting. But to bond debt exemption. And in fairness to what Richard said, the bond debt exemption in 2017, 2018 had 3 projects in it. Had the fire station, which came in under bid, 2, the upgrade of our square here to manage the traffic. I think it also had demolition of the existing fire station cost in it. And then the 3rd thing was the DPW. Well, as we know from history, there's only one project that got approved, and that was the fire station. As I keep reminding my chairman here, that public safety is the #1 issue for most citizens in this town. And you got fire, and I think somebody mentioned on the 19th, that the DPW ends up on the, on the 12th. Our meeting on the 12th. Somebody mentioned DPW ends up on the back bench. And I fully realize, because I used to be the liaison for the Finance Committee for the DPW. I know that facility, I know it backwards and forward. I also helped with the Municipal Building Committee when we put the addition on it. Back in, I think it was 1969, with CETA money. If you could remember what CETA money was, it was money for public works projects through CETA to put people to work, engineers included. So I've said a lot, Mr. Chairman, and right now I'm still on backbench.
Okay,
Just
yes.
quickly, I just want to state, we're not going to borrow any funds until we open bids for this project
Right.
because of the uncertainty. So
You're not gonna what?
we're not going to borrow funds for this project until
Doing
we,
the tax levy, yeah.
no, until we have bids.
No, this particular article.
This particular, so we're authorizing 26.5 million. The selectmen need to decide and approve the borrowing.
Right,
We're not going to borrow funds until we know what the bids are.
right.
So if the bids come, because if I borrow 26.5 million and the bids come in at 30 million, then I stop paying principal and interest on a project that didn't start. So this project, like everything else, is not going to go forward until we know we can sustain the funding based on the economic outlook, until we get bids in to understand the pricing. We're not going to work off an estimate and borrow the money. We're going to work off actual bids.
And this project, if we, whatever, finish the design, won't go out for bid until like spring, right?
No,
February, March.
February, March
Winter.
timeframe, right. And that's why the approach we're taking, and I think it's a prudent approach, is we're going to utilize $1.5 million in free cash to finish the design, get the construction documents complete, and get ready to go out to bid, or go out to bid. That way, we're not borrowing funds and having to pay for principal and interest on that work. We're going to use the free cash, and we're not going to borrow anything until we know the cost.
So a possible scenario is we approve this, we go out to bid in February or whatever, it comes in too high, you just don't,
We
do it.
we don't do it, or we, go back and scale back the project and go back out to bid in the summer. We have a variety of options. That's why we're also using bid alternates, because it gives us flexibility.
Yeah. I also wanted to mention, so it might have been a little confusing, but a month or so ago, it was over budget by about $4 million based on the cost estimate. The design team went back, redid what we just described, taking the food pantry out, making it a little smaller, and whatnot. And now it is in budget of the $28 million. The current design that was shown, presented last Monday in school committee last Wednesday. I'd like to thank the design team for going back to the drawing board, I don't know how many times now, to get it.
And you brought up a great point. This project, when we first started, we thought we were going to be able to do it pre-COVID for $25 million to $28 million. Then we went through COVID, and the cost of construction spiked, and the project was closer to $37.3 million. And then we went back to the drawing board, and we looked at it again, and we got it down to the construction cost down to 29.5. And now we're down to the 28.
Yeah. So thank you for all those revisions, getting us to the number we need. Does anybody have any other questions on this borrowing article?
I have two small ones.
Go ahead, Ray.
To Mr. Alberti. Sorry to make me stand up. That's all right. I watched the presentations to the school committee, whenever it was last week. So the new building, great, airtight, energy efficient, super duper deluxe. And we're renovating some small existing office space in the old building. So I guess which alternate is more important would be the question. Because I think you talked about temperature of what the temperature of the building needed to be just to use as vehicle storage. I think it was like 40 degrees or something.
45 degrees, yes.
45 degrees. So right now we have a renovated, if we go like it is right now, we have a renovated existing office space that's hopefully not at 45 degrees, because that would be more important. But would the office bid alternate be of higher priority than the vehicle storage?
Yes, and that's the way we've structured it currently. The bid alternates need to be selected in order, and bid alternate number 1 would be the office area.
Okay, so if we went that way, we gained that addition, that renovated office space would become vehicle storage at 45 degrees.
It would become likely small equipment storage due to the height, but it would be gutted and just turned into light storage.
Okay. I just hate to put money into something that's so old.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yes, sir.
and Rich brings up a great point. I think throughout this process, as we have gone from a full-blown two new buildings project that we believe that was the right way to go, right? That's what we originally brought forward. But because of price escalation through COVID, supply chain, and other things, we needed to scale back and get within a budget we can afford. One of the things that did come out of this that I think the design team has done an excellent job on, we're not going to invest a great deal in the existing building. we are going to leave it at a bare minimum. We are going to do work if we have to keep the offices there if they can't, if the bid alternates don't work. But we're going to spend enough money on that building to utilize it, but not to the point that if down the road the town does decide to replace it, that you haven't thrown the money away. A lot of the costs that are going into that building have to do with the wash bay, which if a new building is built and this is demolished, the wash bay would be able to stay, and then you would go from there. But it really has become a very practical way of utilizing that building and reducing costs. So that's worked out well.
Yeah, good point.
The only other,
Another question?
The only other question I had, of looking at slide 24 of your presentation, I was trying, my son's a civil engineer, but I'm not. Which way is north?
North would be to, I believe it's to the right on the plan.
Okay, so we'd be getting a lot of sunlight in on the southern side, like into the vehicle maintenance bay, into the vehicle storage bay of the new building, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we have built a lot of translucent panels into the design so that we can take advantage of that natural daylight, and we also provide controls so that if there's enough light, artificial lighting will automatically turn off, trying to save on long-term energy costs.
Okay, that's it, thank you. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Rich. Any other questions on Article 5? Do we have any motions?
Motion to adopt
I have one
Article
more comment, Mr. Chairman.
Tom, go ahead.
Right now, on this article, I'm gonna vote no on, only because I think we put aside 1.7 million or almost 2.3 million for design. And if I heard Mr. Alberti right, they're at the firms at around 15%. So the money for design is already there, and we can complete the design, and then get a real good estimate. So my feeling is right now, we can bring this back based on the bond market and what the selectmen do, bring this back in April or May, when we receive bids, select bid alternate number 1 or bid alternate number 2, and then have at least something in hand. Because like I said, we can complete the design. The money's been appropriated for design as well as the money being appropriated for already for bond debt exemption. That's already built into the fiscal 23. I think Richard, the town manager, is asking Mr. Chairman for more money this evening to help with the added costs. So my recommendation to the chair is to at least suspend this until we get a firm handle on the design bid projects and then bid next year.
All right.
Go forward next year.
I appreciate your comment. I would say we have a pretty good estimate. And as town manager said, we will not move forward unless it comes in on that estimate, the bids. And by not approving, and this is just my comments, whatever, that we are handcuffing ourselves and not allowing us to go forward with it. And if we wait longer, things could get worse. So I think we have the framework that we're working under in place with some guardrails. And there's no reason to handcuff ourselves and not go forward. That's how I feel. But
thank you.
We can agree to disagree, I guess.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I'll just make one more comment that, and I agree with you, and it's been said that if it comes in over, we're not doing it. So, but we'll have a design that we can utilize at some point in time. When the economy is different or
When the price is
whatever.
right.
The price is not gonna be right. But I just think that we've been told, the most important thing I've been told is, if it comes in over that amount of money, we're not gonna do it. And I think we need to respect the powers that be in town, board of selectmen, the town manager and his staff, that's the case. And that, again, just my opinion, just another person to.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I feel like I have to speak because everyone else did today.
Okay, you don't have to.
I feel this has been we've been kicking this can down the road for quite a while, and we need to react. If you look at the whole slide presentation, your road to battle is right here. It spreads everything out. When we're gonna be looking at April 23 is when we make the final decision if it comes on the budget. I think that gives us plenty of time to actually look at things and make a determination. And I feel very confident that Richard and the team will get us to the finish line. That's all I have to
All right,
say.
thank you, Jason. All right, do we have any motions on recommendation?
I motion to adopt Article 5.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
I'm opposed.
And chair votes aye, that's 4-1 to adopt. Okay, Article 6.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Article 6 transfers the balance of free cash into the stabilization fund. It'll be amended at town meeting because we didn't have free cash certified at the time the warrant was posted. So the article will read to transfer $3,940,314 from certified free cash into the stabilization fund.
Sorry, what was the number again?
$3,940,314. And I just want to note that everything we talked about tonight is going to be in the handout for town meeting. All the figures, all balances of funds, the detail on the projects and the line items, and I'll have that to you, if not late tomorrow or early on Wednesday. It'll be uploaded to the website to provide town meeting with as much information as we possibly can. Hold on for 1 second. Trying to make sure I'm reading the right article. So, actually, I'm sorry. Let me just go back. Let me just say, bring it back. Nope, actually, I want to just amend that article. I was reading an old article. The amount that we're putting into the stabilization fund will be $4,336,635. And when you add it to the balance in the stabilization fund of $9,690,721, the revised balance in the stabilization fund will be $14,027,356. I was looking at an old explanation.
Okay. Do we have any questions from anybody from the public on Article 6? Okay. Any questions from the committee? So Richard, the amount that you read off, that this will be amended, that's the certified free cash minus the amount from Article 4?
And the $600,000.
Oh, right, and the 600. Okay, I think we'd be looking for a motion to, a recommendation as amended, right?
So moved.
So it's a recommend adoption as amended, whatever. We get a motion.
Second.
In a second. Dave, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'll vote present.
And chair votes aye, so that's 4-0 and 1 present. Article 7.
Article 7 seeks to transfer $25,000 from the Community Preservation Fund undesignated reserve for purchasing of equipment and upgrading and improving the skateboard park at Saunders Recreation Complex. This past May, we utilized $157,000 from the undesignated fund for the CPA. for this project, but once we started getting pricing on equipment and on paving the skateboard park, additional funds are needed. So those $25,000 will address that projected overrun. Right now, we have $1,982,610 in the undesignated reserve. If the $25,000 is approved, the balance would be $1,957,610. And again, this will all be in the handout.
All right, thank you. Anybody from the public, any questions on Article 7? Seeing none. Any from the committee? Is that work already started, or is that?
No, he's been waiting for additional funding. He's getting prices. And so what will probably happen is we'll do the paving hopefully this year, if we can fit it in. He'll seal coat it in the early spring and install the equipment.
All right, thank you.
He'll order the equipment. It's going to take some time to get it also.
Right. Do we have any motions on recommendation?
Motion to adopt Article 6.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye. That's unanimous. Article 8.
This is the general bylaw for retail marijuana. So this article would strike the existing ban on retail marijuana in the town's general bylaw and replace it with a select board licensing process. As we all know, the regulations for marijuana are strictly enforced and overseen by the Cannabis Control Commission on the state level. Licensing on the local level mirrors the state requirements. But we need a general bylaw in place before we can move forward with retail sale.
All right. Any questions from the public? Seeing none. Any from the committee?
I'll just comment, I just want to thank Mr. Sadler for getting back to me on a couple of questions I had.
Okay. Do we have any motions on recommendation?
So moved.
Tom with a motion for adoption of
Second.
Article 8, and Jason with a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Present.
Chair votes aye. That's 4-0 and 1 present. All right, Article 9.
Article 9 is a zoning bylaw change to allow retail marijuana sales in the community. The first change would remove the retail marijuana sales from the list of prohibited uses. The second change would allow retail marijuana sales in the interstate overlay district. Currently, the districts are Route 38 and the I-495 interchange, Dascom Road and East Street, and the I-93 interchange in Woburn Street. I-495 interchange. The third change would add provisions to Section 8.7 marijuana establishments and the requirements for marijuana establishments to the general bylaw that we just referenced would also be included in the change. Also would allow retail marijuana establishments in the general business district, which is the lower line at 655 Main Street to Andover Street / River Road intersection, in the industrial 2 district, which is Hillman, Rockland, and East Street and Carter area. And then finally in the South Village Business District, 1900 Main Street to the Wilmington line.
Thank you. Any questions from anyone from the public? Seeing none. Any from the committee? Do we have any motions on recommendation?
Motion to adopt Article 9.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Present.
Present.
Chair votes aye, so that's 3, 0, and 2 present. Article 10.
And Article 10 approves the local excise on retail marijuana of 3%. The revenue would be in addition to any other funds the town will receive from a host agreement that we would establish with individuals who open a retail marijuana establishment.
Okay, any questions from the public? Seeing none, any from the committee?
So moved.
Would you have a question, Rich?
Yeah, just confirming that the 3% is in addition to the regular sales tax of 6 point, whatever it is these days.
Yes.
Water.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Any motions on recommendation?
So moved.
Tom with a motion to approve.
Second.
Jason with a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Present.
Chair votes aye. You and I?
I go right.
Okay, so that's 4, 0, and 1 present. Is that the end of our articles?
It's the end of the articles.
All right. I'll look for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Tom with a motion. Jason with a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mike is saying aye as well. Any opposed? Chair votes aye. Unanimous. We are closed for public hearing. Do we need to cut the camera? Do we care? Well, we do. Don't need to. Whatever. Okay, there's no transfers or anything like that? Any other business, Richard, or we pretty much went through it all?
That's it, yep. I think that was enough.
All right. Okay, just want to make sure. We do have a recording secretary timesheet from dates between 9/12, our last meeting, and 9/22, in the total of 11 hours, in the total amount of $254.69.
So moved.
Tom with a motion to ratify the timesheet.
Second.
Dave with a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not voting. Right, so 4, 0, 1 not voting. We have a couple of meeting minutes. I guess we'll take them in order. April 25, 2018, an oldie but goodie.
All motion to approve.
Dave with a motion to approve.
Second.
Jason with a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed? Chair votes aye, that's 5-0. We have meeting minutes from 9/12/2022.
So moved.
Tom? Tom, Jason with a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, any opposed? 5-0. Anybody have anything else for us tonight?
Negative.
We got a motion to adjourn.
Second.
A motion to second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye. We are adjourned.